Hello everyone and welcome to day 7 of the vlog every day in August and my 30 days of painted elephants project. I can't believe I'm already on day 7. It has been so much fun and I want to thank you all so much for tuning in and showing your support. It means a ton. Today I'm going to use another one of my smashed canvases. This is one that I have been hanging on to for quite a while. I just love all the bright colors and it's very springy or summery, and I've kind of been hanging on to it and saving it, and I think that today is the day that I'm going to make something happen with it. So I think rather than me popping in and out in today's video, I feel like really just diving in and concentrating on this one. So I'm gonna just paint the whole painting all the way through, and then in editing, I'll do a voiceover of the whole painting. So I haven't done that in the past because they tend to be pretty long and YouTube doesn't like really long videos. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to walk you through this and do the voiceover in post-editing if it's not too long. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a pretty simple one today. I have a very simple shape in mind for the basis of this, and I will just see how that goes.
That's Dookie, my studio doggy. He's never far from my side. And I'm just starting with doing the sketch. I do have a reference photo. It's a photograph that I'm using to just get the shape of it. What I'm using here is a graphite watercolor pencil. I use this because I can draw and then add water and wash it away. It's absolutely perfect. You can see here that it's taking me a little while to get the shape going, but that's exactly the reason to use this, this graphite pencil. So I literally can see how I've just grabbed some paintbrush there with some water, and I'm just drawing in and then wiping away as I see fit. So if you're ever working on something like this, then a watercolor graphite pencil is a very huge tool. You can see here that it's taking me several tries because I'm trying to make it look still proportionate on the canvas, knowing that, you know, I can't have this teeny tiny little trunk on this guy because his ears are quite large. So someone asked me in the comments on my first video if I had any tips on how to draw the trunk and the ears, and all I can really say is have a reference photo and practice, practice, practice. You know, what they say about having 10,000 hours of work before you can be considered an expert, that definitely is the same in the art world. The more you practice and draw and sketch, then the better and better you will become. It's just like being an athlete. You need to devote the time and energy to keep practicing and trying. So right now I feel like my sketch is pretty much done, so I'm going in and blocking out the shape by toning down the background. I'm using white and a little bit of gray paint and then a really light baby blue paint. You can see that I'm using the foam sponge. The foam sponge is a really great brush to use when you're trying to do a background but blend colors together. There's just something about this sponge, how it doesn't make lines and it just blends and smudges the paint to keep it all blending together. I'm varying with grays and blues. I'm not doing the whole background in one solid color because I don't want it to look colored in. And then I'm just wiping away the insides of the trunk. So I want to keep all those paint layers that were below it, and so I'm blocking out the paint above it or in front of it and sort of making it kind of stay revealed. And I'm just working on, you know, kind of the layout of things and seeing what areas of the paint underneath I really love and which ones I want it to pop through. Adding a little bit of gray there to vary the color. And again, you can see that I'm using my, my magazine for my color palette. So what I've done here is I've taken some high flow golden acrylic white paint. I sprayed the top of the canvas with water a little bit first, and then I took my finger, watered down the paint, and went up on top and had the paint drizzle down. I, as you've seen in my other videos, love this drizzled paint effect. It's just somewhat of a signature in my work. The key here to get that paint to look the way that it looks is to use the high flow golden acrylic. A cheapo craft acrylic just isn't going to drip with a lot of intensity. It's just going to clump and then just look like water. I really wanted those white lines to come down, so I switched to the golden acrylic paint. So just giving you a bit of a close-up here of where this bad boy is at. Doesn't look like much right now, but I'll go back into it and work it and create it. So now I'm switching between my graphite pencil and just a regular Inktense watercolor pencil in black, just to get those lines established. You'll see I'll go over them many, many times, add some water, take it away. So these are tools that are really great to have because of their versatility, that you can just rub them away with water. And because I like the smudged, water, drippy type of effect, it's a really great tool for me because I don't mind the smudges and the drips of me when I wash it away. So I tried going over this with a gray paint and it just really didn't do a whole lot, but I'm still in the very beginning stages of this outline. I have to be honest, I'm often quite leery of using black. Even when I was an art student in high school, I didn't love the look of outlining something completely with black paint. It's kind of looked to me like it was like a coloring book. You know how coloring books, you basically color within the black lines. So I was always very hesitant to use a strong black outline in my work. So I kind of build up my courage here a little bit in trying to do that. So you can see there that just making that little adjustment on the tusks makes it look a lot more realistic. Just doing that little bump to sort of establish that bump that happens from the skin wrapping around the trunk. And now I'm still playing a little bit with the shape, needing to establish the head, so because I need to draw the eyes in there somewhere. So this elephant is turning out to have a bit of a longer forehead than I probably anticipated, but not all elephants are shaped alike. I'm gonna have to go in and work on those eyes a lot more, but for right now I'm just ballparking them in and seeing how this is all gonna work out. Now taking that pencil again and going over those lines, just working with establishing that outline again and again. Now I wasn't really crazy about those black dots being both on the head and on the ear. I wanted to sort of break those two areas apart. So that's why I'm going in here with a little bit of green and a little bit of white paint to sort of tone down those backgrounds and let the ears have a lot of the peekaboo background layers that are there, and then focusing a little bit differently on the head. Oftentimes when I'm wanting paint to kind of smudge and create a bit of a shadow or not a solid line, I'll paint with my fingers. It's a great way to blend paint and to cover over some of those layers in the background without really making a big big paintbrush swatch of something. It helps it to blend. I'm finally getting the hang of these eyes. I had to find another reference photo that I was happy with to get the shape of these eyes. And it's really hard. The way that an elephant's eye is, it can be pretty challenging to make them not look angry, just because of the way that their eyelids droop over top. So you can see here that I'm going to play around with the eyes quite a bit. So if you do decide to go ahead and paint your elephants, it's really not the ears and the trunk that are the hard part. It's the eyes. So if there's any one particular spot that I encourage you to practice a lot, it is the eyes of the elephant. Now, in order to get sort of the attitude of the piece, I felt like I needed to get those eyeballs in there. So here you'll see me painting those in, just really lightly, just really trying to get them so that they stop looking angry. Here I go and make a really bold move. I take some of my high flow golden acrylic black paint and I drip. I just can't get away from the drips. So here I'm trying to establish a little bit of a shadow between the ears and the nose. But again, not trying to make it look too realistic and too painted on. I like it to just sort of kind of organically find its way. And when I made that spray, it sprayed a lot, like the water just sprayed everything everywhere, and I made these little paint drips happen on the ears, and I actually really liked it, so I figured I would go in and do some more. This one makes me feel very Jackson Pollocky. Now with this particular black paint, you really have to let it dry because it does dry a lot lighter than when you initially spray it. And if you ever want to make those Jackson Pollocky splashes, what you do is you fill your paintbrush with a nice milky color and then you tap another paintbrush on top of it like you're banging chopsticks together, and that helps create the splatters versus whipping your paintbrush at the canvas, which is going to make your splatters sort of have a line. So if you just tap them together like you would chopsticks, then that's going to give you a better splash. And here I really want this area to be very smudgy and not look too painted in, so that's why I'm specifically painting with my fingers. And you can see that I used some gray paint on the forehead and I covered up that white area and I made it look a lot more cohesive between the forehead. It was kind of looking like it was half and half, so I added some green paint there. This is why I always put cream on my hands before I start a project, because I use my fingers a lot. So I use Body Glove. It's a art hand cream protector and it works great. So now I'm going in and creating a little bit more depth, making this look a little bit more realistic. I'm happy with the outline now, so I'm not afraid to darken it and make it look a little more established. Doing some more paint splashes. To make those eyes, I'm using some graphite just to make it kind of smudge, tidying up the areas on the outside so that the background really pops from the foreground. So I did take a step back and took a photograph of my painting to see what was missing, and I decided that it needed something on the forehead. So I'm going to go in here and make some doodles. I used pencil to draw that second line because sometimes it's really hard for me to make it look symmetrical. You can see here that it's not totally symmetrical, but I like that. So. The design of this is inspired by, the Indian headdresses for weddings and henna tattoos. I've always loved those, and I always doodle those designs. I'm using an 08 micron black pen. It writes amazingly over top of acrylic paint as long as the acrylic paint is dry. This is one of my most favorite techniques, is the back end of a Bic mechanical pencil as well as the tip of it work amazing for creating polka dots. The eraser is just soft enough that it makes a beautiful mark, and then the tip of where the lead usually comes out makes a really beautiful, nice, small, pretty consistent drop. So that is definitely a #1 item to have in my toolbox, is an old Bic pencil. So here I'm using my graphite pencil to add some shading to those eyes, make them look really kind of sunken in. And then adding some white to the brow to make the brow really stick out as well. I've added a tiny, tiny, tiny little white drop into the iris to make a reflection. And you can see now that I'm just adding a little bit more white, just creating a little bit more depth. Really working on the eyes, because when you look at an elephant, the eyes are the picture to their soul. I wanted to add a little bit of white to the headdress here, just to balance it out. It's really just a simple lines and dots, and that's all I'm doing. And then taking that graphite pencil and filling in the top of the head a little bit, just to make that headdress really pop.
Well, I'm calling it done. There it is. It went through a lot of trials and tribulations, this one, but I'm happy with it. Thank you for tuning in and watching today, day 7 of the 30 Days of Painted Elephants project and vlog every day in August. I hope you liked the voiceover portion of things. If you did, leave me some comments below and let me know how you thought that all went. And be sure to subscribe to see tomorrow's video, and tune in to the hashtag on Instagram, 30 Days of Painted Elephants. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me today in my studio. I will see you tomorrow.